the story here with Elon Musk. Now, if you have not seen this, yes, the news is true. Elon Musk has hired a new CEO for Twitter. He is going to assume a different position. Let's go ahead and get into that, and I'll explain to you who she is and why there are problems with her. So Elon Musk tweeted this. He said, I am excited to welcome Linda Yaccarino as the new CEO of Twitter. Linda will focus primarily on business operations, while I focus on product design and new technology. Looking forward to working with Linda to transform this platform. So he had teased about this a while back. Do you guys want someone else to run Twitter? He did have those polls, etc. I think it just seemed to be a little bit too much for him as CEO. So he's still going to work with Twitter, but in a different role, in a different capacity. But when we look at Linda, hold on to your seat for this one. So this is Linda Yaccarino. I want you to see a little bit about her. Let me make this a little bit bigger. You see, she changed her info here. So let me go to my account because I had a feeling that would happen. There's me. But that's okay, because I know that I shared a screenshot. So it was a retweet. So give me just a second. Oh, they don't have that on there. So we'll just go down. Anywho, Linda is not all who you think she is. I just want to make sure I don't miss it, because this was pretty recent that I tweeted this. And I noticed she made some changes there. Here we go. Okay, so I said you can't make this up. Look at Linda's profile here. Look at this. Maybe it was her LinkedIn one. It was her LinkedIn one. Look, chairman at NBCU, board director, global leader, marketer, COO, philanthropist, public speaker. Doesn't look too bad, right? Look at this. Linda Yaccarino, World Economic Forum. This is the piece people need to pay attention to. Linda is also the chairman of the World Economic Forum. Notice that's not in her Twitter profile. So why would Elon Musk hire someone as CEO of Twitter that is the chairman for the World Economic Forum? You don't see that as a conflict of interest? This is a social media site. Social media site that just released Twitter files where they have exposed that different government agencies were censoring people on Twitter and suspending people on Twitter and basically telling Twitter how to run their own platform. And you don't think it is going to be an issue that you have someone with the World Economic Forum as the CEO of Twitter? Well, let's talk about why there is a problem with the WEF. Now, Common Dreams wrote an article about this a while back, actually in January. 200 millionaires to world leaders at Davos. Tax the ultra rich and do it now. Until Davos attendees start talking about taxing the rich, the entire gathering will remain a very public example of how out of touch they really are. Let's scoot down here because I want to get to the millionaire part. A group of more than 200 millionaires from 13 countries published an open letter Tuesday calling on world leaders gathered in Davos to tackle skyrocketing inequality by taxing rich people like themselves, warning that extreme concentrations of wealth at the top are unsustainable. So that came from people who are already wealthy. It goes on to say The letter comes on the heels of two analyses detailing how the global rich have captured a disproportionate share of the wealth generated in recent years with the help of policies that often allow them to pay a lower tax rate than ordinary workers who are bearing the brunt of price increases, falling real wages, and economic instability. Let's go down here. With the exception of a few high-profile moments, such as historian Rutger Bregman's viral 2019 rant on the prevalence of tax dodging and world leaders' refusal to address it, the topic of taxation has largely been sidelined at Davos. Now, Davos, I covered this a couple months back. This was the event for the World Economic Forum. That's where they met. Let's go on. An annual gathering of corporate and political elites that often produces splashy rhetoric, but no concrete action. There is a handful of people who attend this event, rich people. And I don't mean someone who's a millionaire. I mean very wealthy, elite people. And they get together for this conference at Davos, and they make decisions about what they think would be best for the rest of us, the rest of the world. And there are no working class people. There are no middle class people or upper middle class people invited to these events. This is why when I tell you not to be afraid of your neighbor, because this is what mainstream media wants you to do. They want you to be afraid of your neighbor. They want you to be afraid of someone that has a different political ideology than you, so that you don't focus on the class issue. Because if you're focusing on the class issue, then you're starting to see that you have people, and I mean, these are very powerful people. This is not someone who's making $1 million a year. You have very elite, powerful people going to events where they are trying to make decisions for the rest of the world. That includes you. And we're not offered a seat at the table. We're not allowed to enter the room. Why do rich people get to make decisions about what happens with us? Very scary times. Very scary times wherein more people need to talk about this. Until Davos attendees start talking about taxing the rich, the entire gathering will remain a very public example of how out of touch they really are. Now, that's coming from Disney, a signatory of the new letter to Davos attendees. So this is the key point here that Common Dreams is trying to make. They can have all these events that they want to, but until they address this issue, nothing is going to change. So it is just not sustainable the way the economy has been going for the past for my whole lifetime, actually. Now, what are some of the issues with the World Economic Forum? Let's get into this clip here.
After 2 years running the world from home, the political and business elite is back in the Swiss Alps this week. A spring World Economic Forum without the snow, but plenty to discuss. The war in Ukraine top of the agenda, with President Zelensky addressing the meeting by video link, and MPs and ministers from Kiev here in person.
Russian responsibility.
One of the decision or key decisions that they were discussing at Davos was this war in Ukraine. I believe I played a clip from that on this show a couple of months ago, where there was actually one person who said, we are going to fight till the last Ukrainian. We are going to give them money as long as it takes. Again, handful of elite people, not only making economic decisions, but also making decisions in reference to warfare in the world. When I tell you that the president doesn't really run the country, believe me, the president doesn't really run the country. Let's go on.
Clear message. The West must do more to stand up to Moscow.
If you are paying two Russian companies for their oil, for their gas, you are giving them resources to continue destructing our towns, our villages, killing our children, raping our women, elderly, toddlers, babies, and destroying the country.
But there'll be no Russians. The oligarchs who used to throw the most opulent parties are banned. And there's very little British presence. Chancellor Rishi Sunak is staying away, and so's the business secretary, despite, or perhaps because, of the rare concentration of wealth and power that can make Davos look like a party to which only the super rich are invited.
He said can make it look like, no, that's exactly what it is. So notice he said there were no Russians that were invited, very few British people that were invited, but that's exactly what it is. This is one long week of a party of rich people, elite, powerful people making decisions for everybody else. That should never be okay. And so Elon Musk has hired someone who's the chairman of the WEF. This is the person who is going to be running Twitter. So when people came to me and they said, oh, Elon Musk, he's so free speech, he's going to look out for everybody, everything's going to be great. Really? You don't think there aren't going to be issues with censorship when you have someone who's a part of the WEF managing Twitter? Think about that again.
I think we all know that we're in the middle of a very difficult global context. There are a lot of crises afoot. There is, of course, the geopolitical conflict. There is the ongoing effects of the pandemic. And all of this every single day is affecting people's lives. And that is exactly why we need to bring those that have the ability to support those that are suffering from this current moment together and start rebuilding towards a new era of cooperation.
The big global brands are here to show their wares in a rarefied environment that celebrates the virtues of liberal capitalism.
You want to try augmented reality?
With few dissenting voices.
So notice what he said there, celebrating liberal capitalism with few dissenting voices, because the voices that are present are people who benefit from the capitalist system. They benefit from the liberal capitalism. They're not affected by inflation right now. They weren't affected when the gas prices were high. They're not affected by high grocery store prices right now. They're not affected. They benefit from the very system that is destroying a lot of other people, that working class people are having to struggle with, that poor people are having to struggle with. And you have all these people with enormous amounts of wealth and all these people at the bottom who are struggling to get by. And they're making the decisions for the people who are struggling. How is that right? It's not right. I want to go back here, this little part right here again. Pay attention to what she says about the crisis and the capitalism.
Towards a new era of cooperation.
The big global brands are here to show their wares in a rarefied environment that celebrates the virtues of liberal capitalism.
You want to try augmented reality?
With few dissenting voices.
The World Economic Forum says it wants to improve the world through responsible capitalism. And with a war in Europe and an economic and potentially a food crisis, they've got plenty to work on. They might also consider here how things have gone so badly wrong.
A united stand against Russian aggression may be the truest measure of whether Davos's return makes a difference.
But the reason why they're asking, like, how did things go so terribly wrong? Because of capitalism, because the current system in place that they benefit from. You know, you cannot have capitalism without having some form of exploitation. It goes hand in hand. So although they may not be the people that are exploited, someone somewhere is. And most likely it's us. You think you have wealth? You think because you make $200,000 a year, $100,000 a year, you think you have wealth? You have nothing. You have nothing compared to these people. These people control the world. They are powerful and they can make those key decisions. And when you talk about the political people who were there, Kirsten Sinema was there. What is she doing there? Because she is in the back pocket of hedge fund managers. See, the people who go along with it, she wanted to be a part of that club. They let her in because she looks out for them. And that's why she's one of the people who would vote against something like a $15 minimum wage. Because she's in the back pocket of these people. So that is who Elon Musk has decided to hand Twitter over to. That is the new CEO. And Pat Webb called it out. Twitter's new CEO, Linda Yaccarino, is currently the executive chair for the World Economic Forum and was chairman of advertising at NBC Universal. So you have two conflicts of interest. You have the economic conflict of interest, financial conflict of interest here. And you also have the media conflict of interest. That's a problem. So we will see how this goes with Miss Linda driving the ship. We shall see. What is that, Monarch? Linda is also a former Trump appointee. There you go. There you go. So keep your eye on Twitter and we'll see what happens. If you notice some weird changes, this could be the reason why.